Welcome to this month's episode of Veterans Voices. I'm Matty Sargent, and this month we'll be interviewing Navy veteran Lou Papile. Have a veteran's profile for Army Sergeant William Rogers, who was killed in action during the Korean War, and some updates from Veterans Services with Mike Hennessy. All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And so this month we're interviewing Navy veteran Lou Papile. So Lou, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born and raised?
I was born in Marlborough, raised in Marlborough. Really, the first time I left was when I went in the service.
Okay.
A couple of vacations here and there, but for the most part, I left and saw more of the world.
Yeah. And so you went into the Navy. Is there a reason you chose the Navy over the other branches?
There is, and it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. I was getting in trouble after high school. You know, I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. A friend of my dad's, Dennis Travis, talked to me. He says, come down to the house. He says, here's a beer. We sat down in his basement. He says, what are you doing with your life? I don't know. He was a Navy vet, and he talked to me about the Navy, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that. So he took me to the recruiter, and it went from there.
Okay. And where did you go to basic training? Any other specialized training?
Basic training was Great Lakes. In March, it was cold. I had A school was up there. I was a machinist mate, so I had 1,200-pound steam school up there. And then after that to Norfolk, and I picked my ship up in Argentina.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the training. There was many schools after that, you know, hydraulics, all different schools after that. But that was the main school.
Okay. And you said you were assigned to your ship. What ship were you assigned to?
It was a destroyer. It was the USS King, DDG-41, and I picked it up in Puerto Belgrano. They flew us down to Buenos Aires. The Admiral's plane was supposed to bring us the rest of the way, but it broke down. We stayed in Buenos Aires one night. That's the first place I saw a bidet.
Yeah.
Didn't know really what it was, but then they flew us down the next day to Puerto Belgrano, and that's where I picked up my ship.
Okay.
So we came back up South America from there.
Okay.
Got to go over the equator,
All right.
which was nice. I got the beating, you know, the shellback beating, but. Yeah. It was fun. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was South America was nice. It was where we went. So
yeah. And so you said your rank and your rate was machinist mate?
Yeah, I was machinist mate. I went in as, you know, just probably an E1, E2, I think, maybe E1. And then machinist mate was mainly machinist mates in the conventional Navy, which is the oil and steam. Was the turbines in the hole. They called it the hole, but it's where the turbines were. The boiler technicians, which were in a room just north of you on the ship, sent the steam to the turbines, and we ran the turbines. But that isn't what I did. Mm-hmm. When I first got on the ship, one of the guys saw that I was an MM. He grabbed me, took me to A gang, which is auxiliary, and said, you're staying in here. They got me assigned to there. So rather than working in the hole and on the steam turbines, I did heating, air conditioning, because back then everything needed air conditioning, computers, missiles, everything. I did auxiliary equipment, so any galley equipment, all the hydraulic, which was after steering, anchor windlasses. We ran all the small boats. We were the enginemen on the small boats. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to be in that division because I was a fresh air snipe, they called it. So I still had to learn everything in the hole to pass my qualifications to get rank. But that wasn't where I did my watches. Mm-hmm. So, it was good. I'm glad the guy grabbed me. because I got to see the sun,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
But anyway, that's that.
Yeah. And you said you met the ship in Argentina and then came back up to Norfolk. Was the ship home ported out of Norfolk?
It was.
Okay.
It was. Yeah. We came up through South America. Stopped a bunch of islands on the way. Puerto Rico's your last stop because they did Roosevelt Roads. It's not a base anymore, but that's where they would customs and everything go and meet the ship there, and from there you would head to Norfolk.
Okay.
So Norfolk was typical Navy base.
Yeah.
You know, everybody didn't like the Navy.
Yeah. It's the same
because it was
today.
thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and I get it. You know, I understand. But that was the home port.
And did the ship do any travel anywhere while you were aboard, other than the trip back up to Norfolk?
Yeah, so you go out a lot. I mean, our ship was out to sea all the time. So we did the Caribbean, the islands. We were constantly going out with carriers. But the next main cruise was the Mediterranean. That was I want to say 81, 82, right in that vicinity. And you know, that was a 6-month, 7-month cruise. So
Okay.
it was good. It wasn't we didn't get all the ports that we were supposed to, but you know, but it allowed me to see the way other people live.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Were there any notable ports anything you like to talk about?
I thought Istanbul, Turkey was great. Honestly, I always wanted to go back there, but I'm not so sure now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did not a bunch, but a few ports over there that were pretty good.
Yeah.
Toulon, France, not so good military port.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of France as far as going there. But honestly, there was a bunch of other ports. It was Spain, Barcelona. I got to see the Grateful Dead in Barcelona.
Oh, that's pretty
cool.
cool.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, so it was good.
Mhm.
You know, so but other than that, I mean, then we went in the shipyards for about a year and a half up in Bath, Maine, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we were up there for a while, and then from there, Cuba to Guantanamo Bay for training, and then after we got out of there, I was probably only in another 9 months, and I got out.
Okay.
So,
And so for the time that you served, you said it was early 80s. What was the time frame when you were in?
1980 to 1984.
Okay.
Yeah, so March to March.
Okay.
That was the peak of the Cold War.
Was.
Anything interesting happen while you were out and about?
We had a lot of funny things happen. So you know how they refuel at sea, right? You know, you have a main ship, whether it's a carrier or an oiler. You pull up next to them, and it's your job to keep with them. So and then they would shoot lines over with a gun. They would shoot a line over, then they would pull hoses over and refuel the ship. Well, the Soviet Union used to try to mess with you. So if they were anywhere near us, they would have to station a ship behind that and a ship in front of that, because they would try to come through right between the two of you. You'd have to cut your lines and break away. So they did that all the time. So if they were in the vicinity, they always had to do that. There was a couple other instances. We had so we were in Toulon, France, and they pulled us out early, actually. It was us on another ship. The other ship broke down on the way out. We towed them back in, and then we went back ourselves. We went off the coast of, I'm pretty sure it was Libya. And I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was Libya. And the Russians had a communication ship that we wanted to get a look at, and they wouldn't come out. We sat out there for days. They wouldn't come out. So one night they rigged up the ship. They can make the ship look like a freighter. You know, they put booms out, they put lights out there. It looks like a big monster ship coming through the water. And they decided to go in right into their port almost. And they shut all the radar down. They shut everything down. And then as they went in, we weren't allowed to open any of the hatchways, nothing. They flipped all the radar on, lights on. And I wasn't in the bridge, but they said that on the Soviet ship, they were cutting lines, lights, just to shut it down so we couldn't see it. And then we left. And on our way out, I was told later that on our way out, somebody radioed, have a good Christmas, because it was almost Christmas.
Yeah.
So we left there. We blasted out of there, and we were pretty low on fuel. We were like a bobber at that point.
Yeah.
So we had to meet up with a fuel ship to fill up.
Yeah.
It was all kinds of stuff like that. You know, it was Black Sea, another one. Went in there. We were the first ships in there, and I don't know how many years, but a long time. And there were 2 American ships, and then there was a Russian ship with us. They said there were subs under us and planes over us. We didn't see them, but they said they were there. I was told years later, I read an article years later that President Reagan, he was told by the Soviet Union, don't bring your ships in there because we're going to sink them. And then they did. He said, go ahead. And of course, we didn't know it. That was all Cold War stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and listen, I got to say, we probably did the same things to them. Right. You know, that was part of what you did.
Yeah.
I liked your story. That's what I was hoping you'd tell it.
So in my opinion, you know, Reagan didn't back down from anything, and he wanted that confrontation with them for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why he said what he said. Go ahead, try it. You know, and again, they were messing with us. We were messing with them. So it was that, you know, you don't know a lot of that when you're on the ship.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't see it. You know, I mean, we see a Russian ship, and we're all on one side of the ship, looking at them, taking pictures, and they're all on their side of the ship taking pictures of us.
Yeah.
You know, I will say that their ships were old and pretty beat. They didn't look like good ships, but
yeah,
who knows? You know.
Did you ever, any of the ports you ever pull in, did the Russians ever pull in as well?
No. So back then, they weren't allowed to go on liberty. They pull into ports, but they had to go off, and I remember being told this, they had to go off with guides. They weren't, because they were afraid they would defect.
Oh, okay.
And they would go off in groups with a couple of I don't know what they called them, but they were
yeah.
chaperones. Yeah.
Communist chaperones.
Chaperones, right. So we never saw them. They didn't pull into our ports, but I was told that when they did pull in, that's how they had to go off.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting. There's a lot of things that happened over there, but
yeah,
that was it was good. It was just the Cold War. You know, it wasn't like today. So
yeah.
But anyway.
Is there any other stories you'd like to share about your time in the Navy, or?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of them. Some of them I probably can't really get into.
Yep, those are called sea stories.
They are called sea stories, and
for a reason. Yeah,
nobody believes you, but they're true.
Yeah.
And there was one. We were in. I think it was Cartagena, Spain, and we might have been drinking, and there was a hammer and sickle flag at this place, some building, and we had one of our guys. He was from Arkansas, little skinny guy. We hoisted him up, and he cut that flag down. I don't know who's got that flag. Somebody's got it, of the guys that we all hung around with.
Yeah.
But we thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a sea story.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So you got out of the Navy in 1984, and then you've been here in Marlborough ever since?
I have. I got married, and my wife was from Pennsylvania. Kind of another funny story, but she moved here. Mm-hmm. So I swore when I got out of high school I wasn't coming back here. I did. So, and I'm still here. Mm-hmm. My kids are all here. I got one daughter that lives in Connecticut, but everybody else is here. And so yeah, I came back here.
Yeah. Okay.
Back here.
And then, so have you gotten involved with any of the veterans organizations in town? And when did you get involved with those? Like, what point in life?
It wasn't until I had two organizations. It wasn't until much later. Mm-hmm. I think when you first get out, you're in your 20s. you're not thinking veterans organizations. I don't think.
Mhm.
Maybe you guys think different, but it wasn't until probably my 50s that
Mhm.
I think I joined the ITAM. I was on the board for a bit there. AMVETS, I was a member years ago, and then I rejoined a few years ago. I was a member of the Legion, but they lost my membership, and I just gave up because I got enough places that I'm involved in. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but it wasn't until later, and I think that's one of the issues with all these veterans organizations is that most everybody's getting older,
Mhm.
and the young guys don't want to be involved.
Mhm.
The guys from Iraq and Afghanistan, they don't want to talk about it, first of all, and then they don't 10 years from now they may get involved, but I don't think so now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but that's my opinion.
I think you see the front facing, what you see of the ITAM, the
Mhm.
Legion, the AMVETS. You just see a bar.
Yeah.
And in my experience, the organizations are a lot more than just a bar.
Yeah.
It's about camaraderie, and then you have the veterans advocacy side that a lot of people don't see.
Yep.
That you have the service officers.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, when I first started, I used the American Legion.
Right.
When you have a lot of people that use the DAV, you have a lot of
Mhm.
people that even have the ITAM that has service officers. So I think that's what
Yeah.
a lot of people don't see. They just see.
They don't see that, and they
Don't
don't see
see
what
it.
they do for the veterans either.
Right.
So when I first was involved with the ITAM, I was on the board there. John Manning, John Rowe, they were all on the board, and they used to do so much. I mean, there was a lot of the guys were retired. They would take veterans in and out of Boston to Jamaica Plain to the oncology unit. They would go in there and they would say, "Hey, what do you need? What do you need from us that we can donate?" And then they would donate TVs, juice, whatever they needed for the oncology unit.
Mhm.
People don't know that. People don't see that.
Well, and I just saw it just because it just happened. John Manning and Jimmy Bell and the ITAM, they just raised thousands of dollars
Yeah.
with the golf tournament they just had.
Yep.
Mhm.
And you had the Paralyzed Veterans of America, which is
Yeah.
a wonderful organization. And they just, I think the ITAM gave over $1,000 to the Veterans Court.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that's what people don't see that these organizations do, and that's why we need to keep them around.
They do so much, and people just don't realize it. They go. I know John. I think it was John that used to go to the various nursing homes and have pizza with the veterans. Things like that. They don't see that. People don't know that.
Yeah.
I know my daughter works at assisted living, and they used to do during Iraq and Afghanistan. They would do the people at the assisted living would do. They would do boxes. What do you call it?
Like care package. For
Care
the troops,
packages.
yeah.
Yes. So they would put the care packages together. And my wife used to go help, and they would do all these care packages. They'd have tons of boxes, and I remember John Rowe at the ITAM saying, "Hey, listen, we'll take care of the postage," and he would come pick them all up, and he would go to the post office and take care of them.
Both Johns are great.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I like them both. I like
Yeah,
them
both. Because John Jr., I guess.
Yeah.
You can't call him Little John. Was
Right.
at the golf tournament.
Right. Yeah, he's not small, so he's not Little John.
Looks like he played for the Shamrocks.
Right. So, and even the AMVETS. I mean, I'm on the board of the AMVETS now, and we do. They're constantly doing raffles, many different things. They're constantly doing stuff, and that money gets donated to veterans organizations. Whether it's a one veteran, there was one that had a service dog that was in rough shape. They took donations and did a bunch of donations for the service dog.
What I think people don't realize too is all these organizations belong to the Marlborough Veterans Council.
Mhm.
And if an individual, a widow, veteran struggling, if they don't meet the requirements for the state program, you can go to the AMVETS, you can go to the ITAM,
Yep.
you can go to the Legion. I personally know that Jimmy Bell's handed people checks to cover their oil.
Yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
New England in winter it isn't pleasant, and even though you do have a good Social Security, nobody wants to pay for oil.
Right,
And sometimes you
and-
can't. It's of oil or groceries.
Right.
Yeah.
And I say the ITAM and Jimmy Bell because I've personally seen it. He You give me the receipt. We'll take care of it.
I don't think there's enough help for veterans. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into politics, but you've got a ton of people in Massachusetts now that are getting all kinds of money, and the veterans get left. I think the veterans get left to the side. There's
It's what happens with the veterans that isn't front facing.
no,
It's not. A lot of what happens with the veterans is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I can personally attest to both mayors I've been here for. Uses the charity fund
Yeah.
to help veterans in need.
Right,
It's nice too
right.
to see that Marlborough itself has an active and an active veterans council that is open to
Mhm.
getting involved with the veterans that need the help and finding the different avenues that they can use to help local veterans.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
not advertised.
No,
It's-
and that's
it's-
where I say nobody knows
It's not, but
that they do these things.
they're there. They're there to help, and
Yeah.
these organizations, it started with Mayor Vigent and Mayor Dumas supports it. Is the pizza twice a month at Linguini's.
Yeah.
You get quite a few people for that.
We get quite a few people for that.
Yeah.
And I don't really advertise for it, but it's there.
Mhm.
And we don't turn people. You're a veteran. When I'm not going to turn you away. I mean, it's a majority of Vietnam veterans, and we have a couple of
Mhm.
Korean War veterans. And the other day we had when I say younger veteran, he was in his 60s.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I don't consider listen, I'm 63. I don't consider myself old yet,
no,
but I'm there. I'm on the end part of my life. So for me to join, listen, I was a member years ago, but I never went. I don't go to the AMVETS all that much because I go to the meetings and I go to functions that we have. I support the veterans, but it's all older. A lot of them are older.
it is, and especially I think you're looking at KJ now taking the AMVETS, and he's a veteran that's our age.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not young puppies.
No.
I mean, when I say younger veterans, I'm talking the veterans that are in their early 30s and
40s,
their late 20s.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. I mean, the veterans that are our age are just getting involved with these organizations.
Yeah.
But I think we need to get the younger veterans,
Right.
more of them involved.
I think from what we've talked about too, like there's a wide options of how you can get involved with your veterans organization if you want to be involved, or not be involved with the veterans organization, but work through them to work on a project, whether it's helping veterans. I've used the American Legion extensively for historical research that I've done on all the men from Marlborough that were killed in the service, and I mean they were that's how I got involved with all that. But there's many different ways, just going to the ITAM golf tournament, making a team, and so there's a ton of different ways, and I think I'm happy we're able to kind of talk about that today and see if there's any veterans out there from any age group that are interested. Always just come down and introduce yourself.
Go to the post. You can come to my office.
You can come to Pizza Day.
You can come to pizza. Pizza. It's not restricted. It's not age restricted. The pizza is if you served. I'm not going to demand your DD 214 if you show up. Just come on down, introduce yourself. There's a good group, good group of veterans that come. They're very welcoming.
Yeah, I think that the organizations they need to get younger members. We talked about, but like we just talked about, I didn't join until it was later.
Right.
And that's I think a lot of veterans don't. You don't have time a lot of times until later. I as a young guy with a house and a payment and kids, you don't have time to do that.
No.
So now I do. I mean the Mike Bell, Jimmy's brother, he'll do. He hasn't lately, but they're talking about doing it again. He would do burgers and dogs and sausage peppers, or whatever you wanted on a Friday night, every other Friday night or something. He'd do it. We always went down. Whenever they do that, I go down. That's you get to see people that are like you. They served, and the money goes to a good cause. It goes into the AMVETS. The AMVETS, they donate money to a lot of different things. I mean, every year they do the fishing with the disabled vets.
The Marlborough Fishing Game Club.
Right.
They've been doing that for 50 over 50
Yeah,
years.
and every year it comes up and we donate money. They say, yep, they vote on it. You have to vote on everything, and they vote on it, and it's never even a question. They just they donate the money.
You got KJ there. You got Jimmy Bell. You got John Manning. You got every veterans organization goes to that.
Yeah,
That's
we have a new
event.
commander at the AMVETS. Jerry Elliott, he's hoping to make some changes, so we'll see.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He's a funny guy.
Good guy.
He is a good guy. He is a good guy. I make the meetings. Summertime, I'm away a lot, so I don't make as many in the summer. But
well, a lot of these organizations, I can just knowing that the Veterans Council, and I'm pretty sure it's the DAV, just through knowing Ron Dahlbeck, they kind of slow down in the summertime, anyways.
Yeah,
that's typical of a lot of organizations.
Yeah. Well,
and I think
people travel.
I just had a meeting with one organization I'm involved with, and we had 3 people.
Yeah,
and it's just it's that time of year. So
yeah, and then the Legion, like I said, they were one of the big functions downtown. One time they were given a free membership. I'm like, okay. So my father was a member down there as a social member, so I joined and I went to do something, and they said, well, you're not a member. I'm like, what? They couldn't find my membership card. They couldn't find anything. So I just never. I'm a member of 3 different places. 2 of them are veterans organizations. It was one more membership. I'm like,
we'll talk to Matt. We'll find it.
Yeah,
Matt's the commander.
It was Rick Jenkins.
Yeah,
was running that part of it, and he called Boston, called this, called that, couldn't find it. So it didn't matter. I mean, I can still go in there. It's just my dad went in there a lot, and I figured I'd go there and hang with him. He's gone now, so but all the veterans organizations are.
The ITAM's a legacy for me. My whole family grew up in the plains of Milford, the Italian
section. There's no Italians in Milford. Come on.
I grew up right across from the Italian.
Let me ask you a question. Are you Italian?
A little bit.
No. Did you have a basement that was finished?
There was a stove in the basement.
There you go.
The old homestead.
Did you have plastic on your furniture?
No.
I'm Italian, so I'm not knocking it.
I'm a little bit of, my great grandmother's name was Marie Concetta di Gilinato.
Ah, yeah, that's an Irish name.
Yeah, they get the Hennessy on the other side.
I used to do HVAC years ago, and a lot of our customers were in Milford, and we used to call them cellar dwellers because every cellar is finished. I don't care if it was a stone foundation or it was a finished basement, and they all had grapevines in their backyard. And you know how many times I'd be at a house. And it working, and the guy would go, "Hey, you want a sip of wine?" I'm like, "All right, let me have a little bit." Oh my God, all homemade,
I played on the bocce courts as a little kid.
Yeah, bocce. I love bocce. Yeah, and then I love the ITAM in Marlborough. I mean, they do a ton of functions, a ton of stuff. Mike DeBono's great down there.
Outside of Grammy Mary, that is the ITAM has the best spaghetti and meatballs that I've had.
Yeah, they did the Italian festival this summer. Last summer. It was phenomenal.
Well, they had John Manning cooked the Italian luncheon a couple months ago, and it was unreal. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah,
I'm telling you, it was. We had I think a sausage soup somebody made down there, and it was.
I have that.
It was, oh my God, it was. I don't know who it was that made it, but it was delicious.
But if you join the clubs, you're going to eat good. So
you are.
So if you're looking for food, camaraderie, or just
hanging
a
out,
way to benefit veterans, a bar, a function hall, any of those likes, there's plenty of opportunities.
There's no shortage of Marlborough.
No, and you can go down there, and if I go down and drink it all, which I don't drink anymore, but I might go down and have a beer or 2, even a ginger ale. I mean, and you shoot the bull with people, and out the door I go.
Yeah,
and it's always a good place to go.
Yeah.
So.
All right, thank you, Lou. And with that, we'll be taking a short break.
I said I'd never join.
Then I wouldn't get to work on one of these.
Never knew how strong I was.
I figured I'd never get out of my hometown.
Or be the one who stops an attack.
Joining the Navy sounds crazy. Saying never actually is.
All right, thanks for coming back. And this month's Veterans Profile is Army Sergeant William John Rogers. William was born the 7th of August, 1930 in Massachusetts, the only son of 3 children born to Owen and Louise Rogers. He was raised in Westboro, Massachusetts, and enlisted into the Army shortly after moving to Marlborough with his parents the 24th of January, 1949. Following his basic training, he was assigned to L Company of the 38th Infantry Regiment, the 2nd Infantry Division. He was ultimately promoted to sergeant and was with the unit in the summer of 1950 at the outbreak of hostilities on the Korean Peninsula. Sent to Korea, the 2nd Division arrived in Busan the 23rd of July, 1950, and participated in the breakout from the Busan perimeter on the 16th of September, 1950. Pushing past the 38th parallel and further into North Korea, William was wounded by white phosphorus in late October 1950, shortly after the capture of Pyongyang, and following his treatment was returned to his unit. Following the North Korean counteroffensive, which began the 25th of November 1950, William was killed in action near Kunuri, North Korea. His remains were repatriated to the United States, and he is buried at Pine Grove Cemetery in Westboro, Massachusetts. Rogers Avenue in Marlborough is named in his honor. And this month we will remember Sergeant William Rogers. And here with some quick updates for Veterans Services is Veteran Service Officer Mike Hennessy.
Thanks, Matt. I think we covered a lot of the things I wanted to discuss, talking with the veterans organizations, with Lou, and how important they are to the city. So what I'm just going to touch on just real briefly is I do have a walk-in office hours now. I've always been in my office. Sometimes I am on the go and on the road. A lot of the times I'm out with you. But we do have walk-in hours now Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm there. And you can come on in, talk to me about any issues. I do a lot of claims. I've been doing a lot of Camp Lejeune claims lately. So if you do have any issues with Camp Lejeune, rather than paying somebody, you see these people on TV, we refer to them as sharks. They do take a good chunk of the money from you that you recover. You can come see me. I can put you in contact with people that will help you for free. It doesn't cost you anything. Also, another thing we've been doing lately, I've been doing it for quite a while now, is I do my Veteran Pizza Hour. We are not doing it for the month of July due to Linguini's being off and other vacations, but picking back up in August, it is the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month at 11:30 a.m. at Linguini's. Come on in. I'm not going to ask for your DD-214. I'm not going to ask for your ID. If you're a veteran, you can sit down, have some pizza, have some soda, and talk. There's a good group of guys and girls that have shown up. It's a great time. So come on out. 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month, 11:30 at Linguini's, and we are picking back up in August. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mike. And that concludes this month's episode of Veterans Voices. Thank you for joining us.